Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Hildebrandt, and this is the Get Mad Show. Today, our guest is Teresa Leger Fernandez, who is running for U.S. Congress in New Mexico's 3rd Congressional District. Let's go. So, welcome, Teresa, for coming to the show this morning.
Well, this is wonderful to be here, and I love the title. How can you not I think we all need to get mad, but in the right way, so we get things done with that energy.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, it's like not, for me, it's not, being angry, but just being, getting on the edge and moving forward. And I know that that's one of those things that drives anybody who's going to run for office into it, is that little edge that propels them. And that's the whole idea behind Get Mad. Right here at the top of the show, I like to give you a minute so that you can introduce yourself to the constituency, to the viewers, and really make yourself human, who you are, not as a candidate, but as a person, maybe who you're socially distancing with, something about yourself that just really, really connects.
Sure. So I'm from Las Vegas, New Mexico, one of those old, big, huge families. My father had 14 siblings, so you can imagine the number of first cousins and second and third. And I don't know about how all this removed stuff. I went to Head Start. My parents were bilingual education pioneers, so we had a ton of culture. I danced folklorico, I sang, I had a great time. I'm a mom of 3 boys, so I get to social distance with them. They're home from college. Actually, my eldest just graduated. He's one of those COVID graduates from college. We cook together. If anybody's seen my tamale ad, it is indeed a tamale ad where they help cook every year. We do, dozens and dozens of tamales. We've been sharing dance moves. I think mine are a little better and they think theirs is, so we do this whole dance context. I love being outside in our beautiful lands, and I've been trying to squeeze in those kinds of hikes. My very first job was actually building trails in a box canyon. And so from that early time, I've always realized the importance of actually being in our beautiful place we call home and cherishing it and taking care of it. So that nourishes me now during this COVID crisis.
The wonderful thing about doing this show is that so many of my guests, a few are not from New Mexico, but are from New Mexico and from so many different locales. And the just glory and beauty of New Mexico is something that people who aren't from here just don't get. And the fact that you spend a lot of time in the outdoors and in it is a testament to you and to your strength. And one of the things and where I like to go right off the bat right now, because the thing that's impacting all of us so dramatically right now, and the reason you're home, the reason your boys are home, is the pandemic of COVID-19, which is affecting New Mexico dramatically, and especially our native population, which is just really, really being impacted. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on COVID-19? And of course, I'm not talking about how you're going to deal with the science of it, because you're not, unless you're an epidemiologist, that's not where we go. But just how that's impacting our communities.
Sure. So this pandemic is a crisis that really has laid bare the inequalities in our society, the inabilities and our failures of our health system. It's proven that this Trump administration has betrayed us and endangered us all. We're all suffering. In New Mexico, we know that the Native American communities are the hardest hit. And for me, this is incredibly painful because I have been in those homes. When Representative Deb Haaland called me to say she was endorsing me, she specifically called out the fact that this crisis, that she knows that I have been in those homes, that I know what it's like with the grandpa and the grandma and the children, that I know those homes and what needs to be done out there, and that this is a systematic failure of the federal government to Native Americans. The key pieces of recovery that I want to say we need to do include more money for Native Americans, more money for our small businesses, or we have to have regular payments going, not just $1,200 once, and some people get it. We need to focus on our healthcare, get the kinds of testing we need. But also importantly, as we come out of this crisis, we must meet the challenge of fixing the problems that it has shown us, that it said we cannot put our head in the sand any longer. We have to fix the inequalities and in our system. And that's one of the reasons I want to go to Congress and join Deb Haaland and all the others in that fight.
Yeah, and that's so important because we see here in New Mexico um, the bottom of that inequality, because as we look at all the different states and just rank ourselves with the other states, we see that the less money comes to us. When you think about the last COVID bill that came through, and we think Albuquerque got like what $150 billion or something, but none of the rest of our cities did, because we are not that large. Our communities aren't that large. We're small, we're tight knit, we're close communities and smaller communities, and then we're poor communities. And then the thought that that money didn't come to us is really tragic. I would like to talk to you about healthcare. I know that this is one of the things, because of COVID-19, that is back on people's minds and right at the top of our minds because of it being an illness, a virus that's affecting so many people. And I know that one of the things that is on your platform is Medicare for All. So can you talk for a minute about healthcare?
Sure. So, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I was able to beat it because I was able to access treatment, but many can't get treatment they need, even if they have insurance, because they can't afford the copays, the deductibles, the high prescriptions. 78 million Americans and many New Mexicans have inadequate health insurance. So you're right, the pandemic made it clear. And I think we need to transition to a healthcare system that's not tied to employment. When 30 million people, over 30 million now, lose their jobs, that means they lose their health care. So I do support transitioning to a single payer system that brings down the cost of prescription drugs, brings down the cost of copays, all the issues around around the cost of healthcare, but also then expands it so that we make sure we have our rural areas covered. And we have the broadband, we have the telehealth, we have all of that. The studies show that the bills that I'm supporting would save $450 billion a year. So when somebody says it's too expensive and we can't afford it, $450 billion a year in savings is big. But the biggest issue, the biggest reason I want to support this is that it would save 68,000 lives a year. And that's what we need to do, is focus on saving lives and bringing down the cost. And that's what the bills that I support would do.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I too am a cancer survivor, and we were a military family, and so I see that that's the equivalent of a single payer system that you get in the military. And I think about the radiation and the $3,000 shots, and and the surgeries and the things that happen, and you think, how does the average person afford that? And they can't. And we hear so often that these people are going bankrupt because of it. And another area that is healthcare related that I know is at the top of your platform is reproductive rights and women's health. And so many times, certainly from the opposite side of the aisle, they don't think of those two things as the same, that this is women's health. This is not, some other thing that's like the opposite of that. So can you talk about women's health?
Sure. I am really pleased that I have been endorsed by Planned Parenthood. And when you read that endorsement, it says, Planned Parenthood is the largest women's health care organization. They endorsed me because I have done a lot of work in health care. I've helped build 3 World Health Clinics. But what we want to remember is that when it's a woman's health, it means all of us. You can't take pieces of us and say we're gonna let you make your decisions about this part of your health, but not that part of your health. We have to take it. We are women as one body, one whole, and we have the right to have access to health care, to reproductive health care. New Mexico is actually a sanctuary city. We have women driving 14 hours to come here because they know that in New Mexico, they can get the reproductive health care they need. They can get the abortion they can if they need. So in addition to Planned Parenthood and NARAL, I've been endorsed by Emily's List because they want to elect strong women who will make sure that women get to make these hard and difficult choices about our bodies and that we make them ourselves. I'm proud to carry their endorsements as the champion in this race on these issues.
Oh yeah, and it's such a big issue because our bodies are our bodies and our health. I mean, you can't take the two apart. We aren't men in this body, and
Right.
the idea when you hear this thing about that there should be like zero abortions for any reason, and all I can do when I think of that is this idea that if a man can say that, if some politician can say that, what does that mean? He thinks about his wife or his daughters. There's always another wife. There's always another daughter. If if she needs an abortion, too bad. She dies. Like, just marry the next younger person. And and what does that say about those male politicians? It's not a very good thing, and that's why it does seem very important to me, as well as to you, obviously, that a woman is making those choices in Congress as well as at home. I know that another thing that is really important to my viewers, and it's on your platform as well, is the climate crisis. And we are in a crisis. And can you talk about that for a few minutes?
Yes. So climate change, I'm running a platform about the idea of protecting what we love. And when you go to my website, you'll see that up there is we need to protect what we love because it's under attack, and our planet is under attack because we don't want to pay attention to the science. In fact, my latest ad talks about that. I'm the only one who's put up ads that are talking about the need to protect our planet. It's this beautiful place we call home, right? And we are tied to this beautiful place we call home, and we really want to protect it. The Sierra Club has endorsed me as the environmental champion in this race, not because I'm now talking about these issues, but because I have a lifetime of working on these issues, from working on behalf of the Pueblo Laguna to join with Zuni Pueblo to fight the Fence Lake coal mine. President Obama, because of my environmental work, named me as his vice chair on the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. So I have experience both in the ground in New Mexico and in DC, saying we need to fight this. Renewable energy is where we need to go. We need to make that transition as fast as we can, and we need to do it in a way that creates opportunities. I have a great op-ed on a Green New Deal for New Mexico. I urge people to go look at that on my website because it explains more detail about how we attack this climate crisis, keep ranchers on the land, and create jobs in New Mexico.
Yeah, and that is so important, and it is it is an admirable thing to have on your platform. And I'm sure that people will appreciate that very much. Another issue that we have here in New Mexico is, and because of us not being a wealthy state, is the idea of housing. And, I know it's another hard topic, but could you give your thoughts on that?
Sure. So housing is one of the key ways that we build a strong community, right? Owning a home is one of the best ways for a family to build wealth. And I think that is a key thing we need to. We're about how do we create healthy communities. Housing is one of them. I helped put together one of the first White House conferences on housing. I was a special assistant to the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development in DC. I've been on the board of HomeWise. We just helped our 5,000th homeowner get a home, and it was Angel. She was homeless because she had to flee domestic violence. She walked into a home of her own, and she said her heart was bursting in happiness. So it's both about happiness and wealth. I have very specific ideas about how you change some of our laws and our tax policies to increase home ownership, but then also to address the fact that we don't have enough affordable housing in some places, and then in other places we're disinvesting in our communities, and so you have houses that are run down. We are looking at how do you do both reinvest in those communities, reinvest in rundown housing, and then in places like Santa Fe, create affordable housing for families, nurses, teachers to buy. Those are things that I've worked on all my life, and I have very specific policy ideas informed by experts, because I've worked with those experts for the last 20 years about what to do to increase affordable housing.
Yeah, and that's also another, just a really good topic that deserves a whole lot more time. And sadly, we're a quick show, so we don't have. But because housing is such an important topic here in New Mexico, where we do see communities where even our homeless population just growing and growing by leaps and bounds, and that we're seeing after COVID that's going to increase, I think. It's very frighteningly. We're at the very end now, so I would like you to take another minute and speak directly to the constituents and give your, just a quick stump speech to tell them and appeal directly to them and why they should be giving you their vote. And if you could please also make sure that we get your website information so that people can have a place to go and read more about you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And when you go to my website, you will read that I'm running for Congress to protect what we love. Protecting our families, our healthcare, our democracy has never been more important than during this crisis, because we know Trump has betrayed us and he's endangered us. And we need leadership that is grounded in real experience in our district. I've built healthcare centers, helped put broadband in the ground, and fought for our environment and voting rights. I started my academic career in Head Start in Las Vegas and went on to graduate from Stanford Law School, where I was trained as a rebellious lawyer who listens. And I have been listening and getting things done in New Mexico ever since. I have presidential appointments from both President Clinton and President Obama. As I said, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I lost 2 brothers to addiction and substance abuse. I'm a mom of 3 boys. Not only have I worked on the issues that matter to our district, I've lived them. For me, like many of you, they are real. I will take the deep knowledge I have of our issues to DC to be your strong voice. I'm asking for your vote. Please visit TeresaForAll.com. That's my website, real easy, TeresaForAll.com, because I intend to represent us all. To learn more about me and my campaign. Muchísimas gracias.
Well, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time here with us. I know even though so many of us are at home, you people, the ones that are on the campaign trail, are still very busy. And so thank you so much for finding some time to visit with us, and we really do appreciate that.
Well, thank you, and this is a great for you to do this service for everybody and to bring us all together. I think I always talk about community being the most important thing, because I am in community. I love community, and you create community with this program. And thank you for asking me to join it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and thank everybody out there for visiting and for spending some time again watching the show. And make sure that you go to Teresa's website and read more about her. And again, her information will be below in the comments and also here on the screen, so that you will be able to go directly to her website and read more about her. Then go to the websites of the other candidates who are running against her, so that when you make your choice, you choose the person that you feel is the best person to represent you come November. It's really important to make sure that you vote in this primary election, because this is when you're selecting the person that is going to represent you on that general election ballot. Again, thank everybody for visiting. Click the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any of these interviews, and we'll see you next time.